At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too, because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Hello everyone, Mike Kruger from Weather NorCal, and you know what? I kind of got a little bit behind this morning, and my coffee is brewing in the next room. I don't have my cup of coffee with me this morning. So maybe when, you know what? Hold on. Hold that thought. Okay, I'm coming back in the room, folks. And I'm going to do it. I'm here. Look, I've got it right here. There it is. Oh, man. That was a bit of an emergency. I mean, first and foremost, I got to have my cup of coffee. Well, really, first and foremost, it's called Coffee with Kruger, right? So you got to have that cup of coffee, right? So without that cup of coffee, so the coffee was brewing. This is freshly brewed, folks. Oh, man, this is so good. How you doing? Of course, we made it through the 1-year anniversary of Weather NorCal. Yes, today is the 1 year and 1 day anniversary of Weather NorCal. So excited that able to kind of get that going and had a lot of fun with that yesterday. And now it's time to move on, move forward, and make Weather NorCal even better for all of you out there. So yeah, this is awesome. So let's get you out there. Let's see what's going on out there this morning. Let's, actually I haven't checked out this morning to see what's going on. Tracy is saying good morning, and made it to Friday. Have a great weekend from Lisa. All right, well, thank you for chiming in this morning here. Let's get you out to the current temperatures out there right now. And, we're starting to see these overnight lows and these early morning lows kind of creeping up a little bit here. We're at about 67 degrees for Redding right now, 66 in Chico. We've got those temperatures 40s and 50s for the higher elevations. The visibility, it depends on where you are. Not that bad out in Crescent City, but you head out to Eureka, it looks like the visibility is a little bit lower. And there's a look at Elk Country just north of Trinidad, and we are seeing some of that low clouds and some fog there. And let's take you out to, let's get the camera all set up, ready to go here. You can see that we're also seeing some of the low clouds out there towards Crescent City as well, but the visibility, as we saw there just a second ago, is a bit better as you head up to the north. 8-mile visibility in Crescent City, about 5-mile visibility in Eureka. So again, we're starting the morning off with some of those low clouds, a little bit of fog for the coast, but I do expect some of that to burn off here later on today. But it may take a while, especially for places like Eureka. So for the north coast, we'll call it partly to mostly cloudy today, with starting off this morning though with mostly cloudy. Temperatures are going to be in the low 50s there. And for the valley by 8 a.m., you're at about 73 degrees, sunny skies elsewhere. Heading out to the Shasta District Fair today, it's going to be a hot one. Those temperatures quickly climbing throughout the afternoon, topping out at about 106 to 107 for that daytime high in Redding, and for all intents and purposes around Anderson as well. So for today, 107 degrees, 106 for your Saturday, and then going into your Sunday, 102 degrees. Let's take a look at some of those weekend at a glance elsewhere out towards Weaverville. You're about 100 degrees here, give or take, for your today and tomorrow. And looks like Sunday, temperatures do start to dip. The coast, you're not actually seeing the temperatures dip. It's actually increasing. Oh my goodness, what are you going to do? Boy, it's going to be a heat wave in the coast from 59 to 61 from Saturday to Sunday. All right, let's take a look at the Mount Shasta area. You can see about 95 degrees for today and tomorrow, but back down to the low 90s. So you can kind of see the overall trend for everyone in the mountains, in the valley. Temperatures will kind of peak today and tomorrow, and then we'll see a dip in those temperatures come Sunday. There's Susanville, about 94 today, 98 on Saturday, back down to about 94 degrees on Sunday. All right, let's talk about the fire. And, before we get to that, let's take a look at watch duty, see what the latest is on the site's fire. And you can see still just a little over 19,000 acres. We really haven't seen much growth from the fire. And the good news is we're seeing more and more containment over the last few days. We're up to about 25% containment up there. Do want to mention another fire. It's not in Northern California, but it is in Southern Oregon. It's the Upper Applegate fire. Now, this is not a very big fire, but it certainly is producing some smoke and creating some problems. This is at 120 acres, so not a very big fire. but it is going to have an impact, I think, on some of the northern portions of the area, like Siskiyou County, for example. And you'll see what I mean here in a second when we take a look at that smoke forecast. But this is what the fire tracker is showing. Now, satellite, what it does is it can detect heat signatures. So what's really great about this particular product here that we have here at Weather NorCal is that this can tell you the date, the time that the satellite detected the heat signature. So what we're looking at here is information that's several days old. So what that's telling us is that the heat coming in from that fire is several days old. And we're not seeing any red on the map, which indicates there's no new recent activity coming from the fire. That's great news. And in fact, we take a look right now at the hot spots. We're not seeing any hot spots where that fire is. So let's take a look at the smoke and what we can expect out of it. Now, really, we're not expecting a lot of smoke. But remember I was talking about that upper Applegate fire in southern Oregon. It is producing smoke. So extreme northern portions of Siskiyou County may begin to see some of that smoke later on this around noon, right? But the areas of gray that we see there, you might notice some slight haze. But I don't anticipate it to be enough smoke that you're going to smell it or even, quite honestly, even see it. As I'm looking down to the south, I'm not even seeing any kind of smoke or haze. So again, the closer you are to the fire, the better chances you are looking at the potential of seeing some of that haze. But you may begin to see some smoke in the Wairika area later on this afternoon from the upper Applegate fire. That could spread southward into places like Mount Shasta. And if you look northward in Redding, you may see some of the haze. But it's a pretty small fire at this point. It is going to kick up some smoke. So I think the better chances of you seeing smoke and being impacted by maybe even smelling smoke with maybe lower air quality would be the Wairika area. And of course, that may spread southward with that upper level north wind that can push some of that haze down into the Redding area overnight tonight. Otherwise, the wind gusts this morning are not all that bad, but they will be picking up this afternoon for the north end of the valley in particular. There you can see those gusts upwards of 20 miles per hour. Still seeing those north winds along the coast, and Shasta Valley and central Siskiyou County seeing a pretty strong north wind there as well. Let's take a look at the humidity levels, and yeah, they're going to be low. And this is something I've been talking about all week long, is the fact that we're seeing low humidity levels in many of the higher elevations, especially north and east of the valley. So this is going to pretty much be a good indication of the fire danger that we're going to start to see even in the higher elevations. So we look at today, and the fire weather risk is within that high range, right? And you're getting some deeper shades of orange, so you are approaching the even very high range. So why is it showing the very high range for the valley? I mean, the winds aren't terribly strong, but the other aspects that we're looking at here is the heat and the very dry conditions that we have out there. And again, I want you to also take note of central Siskiyou County around Wairika southward close to Mount Shasta, seeing some yellows on the map there. We're also seeing some yellows east of the valley as well, indicating we're beginning to see conditions here in more favor, that is, of higher fire danger in the eastern mountains, which is obviously not good. Now, we're seeing a few clouds pushing through extreme northern California this morning. I do expect a lot of those clouds to kind of push on out of here. Just some afternoon cumulus clouds throughout the second half of the day today. But look at the noon. Again, a lot of the low clouds and fog that we're seeing along the coast, most of it's going to persist through a good portion of the morning, but by the afternoon, it may begin to burn off. But it may take a while for places like Eureka, the Humboldt Bay, for example, to maybe see that burn off entirely. But I do expect that later this afternoon and evening, many parts of the coast could be looking at more sunshine. Temperatures yesterday afternoon, well, a bit of that Delta breeze did keep things a little bit cooler for places like Chico southward. But otherwise, Redding, you saw more of that north wind yesterday, bumping that temperature up to just hitting that 100-degree mark. 97 in Red Bluff, and Corning saw a high of 92 yesterday. Now for today, man, I tell you what, now it's really heating up again. 107 for Redding, 106 for Cottonwood, 107 for Red Bluff. There you can see Chico about 100 degrees. So again, that Delta breeze having a minor impact in the fact that we aren't going to be quite as hot for areas to the south today. And in the mountains, of course, Delta breeze is not really a factor. So we're mainly in the 90s. Some of those highest elevations in the upper 80s, for example, Lassen Park, you're only going to get up to the upper 70s, so that'll be a nice place to cool off. And an even better place to cool off will be the coast. Temperatures there in the upper 50s, struggling to even reach that 60-degree mark. So the 7-day outlook is showing that, yes, it's going to be hot. Today, tomorrow is the peak of the heat wave. Okay, we're talking 106, 107 degrees. Temperatures start to drop, though. And we're going to level off around 100 degrees, give or take, for Sunday through Wednesday of next week. But look at next Thursday. We're back down to the mid-90s. We're actually going to drop down closer to normal for this time of the year. For the coast, around 60, low 60s for Sunday through Thursday of next week. But again, inland, Weaverville, right? We're talking about temperatures dropping, especially by the end of next week. Taking a look at Siskiyou County, Modoc County, and the eastern mountains, peaking today and tomorrow. Temperatures start to drop by Sunday and leveling off in the low 90s for Monday through Wednesday. And then could drop down into the 80s. Especially for Mount Shasta and Alturas, but Susanville still kind of hovering around that 90-degree mark by the time we do get into Wednesday. All right, next Thursday. There's a look at Lake Oroville, North Forebay, and not much of a breeze there, turning out to be sunny skies. We don't see much in the way of haze there either. There's a look at Main Street, Chico. Not a car to be seen, minus the one that's parked there in that parking lot. Highway 99 at Neal Road. Well, there you can see a little bit more traffic out there. And looks like it's kind of flowing smoothly. There's Sundial Bridge Drive, Highway 44 at Sundial Bridge Drive. Not much going on there. And I love this picture. And I want you all to keep sending them in, depending on who you are. This is coming in from Rowdy Kelly. And just as I'm looking at this, I'm also seeing a comment coming in from you, Rowdy, mentioning that it is light drizzle in Fortuna this morning. And that certainly does not surprise me. But an absolutely gorgeous picture coming in out there in from Rowdy. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to send in that photo. I certainly appreciate it. And it looks like we are going to be looking at more of that fog. It looks like some of that light drizzle there along Humboldt Bay, and not to mention near where Rowdy is right now. I want to thank you for, of course, sending that in. I want to remind you that you can send your photos through the Weather NorCal app, just like Rowdy did, and anybody else who's been sending those photos, thank you. Keep sending them in, and don't be discouraged if you don't see it the next day, because what I'm doing is I'm just going to show one photo a day, and I'll try to share them on social media as well, and you'll be able to see them right here on Coffee with Kruger. You'll also see them on my morning update, which uploads no later than 6 o'clock in the morning, so be sure to look out for that. So Rowdy, you were on the morning update. You were right here on Coffee with Kruger. Just go to your iPhone, your Android, and scroll to the very bottom of the app, and it will direct you on how to send those photos. All right, well, today is Friday, and we've got our Pet of the Week. And typically we highlight dogs. But this week, we've got a little kitten that deserves the name Champion. And for the first time with Pet of the Week, my wife is trying to get a little bit more involved with some of these segments. She loves animals, she loves agriculture, so we thought we'd give her a shot at Pet of the Week. So here is my wife, Sadie Kruger, presenting this week's Pet of the Week, sponsored by Cottonwood Vet and Small Animal Clinic.
Pet of the Week, sponsored by Cottonwood Veterinary and Small. Hi, I'm Sadie Kruger with Weather NorCal, and I want to welcome you to this week's episode of Pet of the Week, sponsored by Cottonwood Veterinary and Small Animal Clinic. I'm here with Katrina at Haven Humane, and we have little Champion here. And Katrina's going to tell us a little bit about this personality and what kind of home would be best.
Yeah, so Champion, he's only about 3 months old, so he's definitely going to get a little bigger. But he is such a sweet boy. He has kind of a special story. Most of our animals do come in as strays, and he did as well, but he came in with his mom and his siblings, and they were all really little at the time. And they were pretty sick. They had a pretty bad upper respiratory infection, and I know he was having a hard time gaining weight. So he ended up in a foster home, and our foster parent took really good care of all of them. And as he, started to get a lot better, they got to see a really fun personality come from him, because at first he was pretty weak, and they didn't really get to see much of his personality, but he's very feisty, and he got along really great with their dog and their adult cat, and he's very playful. So I think he would just be a really special addition to pretty much any household. He has a lot of love to give, and he's very entertaining if you watch him play with toys.
So cute and cuddly, adorable. Anything else you could share?
He does really love he has like a little banana bed. So it looks like a little banana, and that's like his favorite thing in the world. So I think if you did adopt him, getting him some type of like little cozy thing he can like crawl into would be really good for him, because he really loves that. He really loves going into like little forts and things like that.
So cute. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today to tell us about Champion. And if you're interested in adopting this little guy, please reach out to Haven Humane. The number will be on the bottom of the screen. And thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Pet of the Week, again sponsored by Cottonwood Veterinary and Small Animal Clinic.
All right, so you can see why he deserved the name Champion. Was quite a trooper here during the process of getting better. So I want to thank my wife for taking the time to go out there and do that with the Haven Humane Society. Hope you can maybe find it in your heart to help Champion find that forever home. Well, as we're talking about here, we're going to take a look at the cameras again and just kind of show you along the coast. I mean, because you live anywhere else outside of the coast, for the most part, and you're dealing with sunny skies, a little bit of haze depending on where you are in the vicinity of the fires. But there is some fog out there this morning, and I do have a comment coming in from Rowdy Kelly mentioning that there is some light drizzle in Fortuna this morning. And I really appreciate those comments and people kind of chiming in and telling us what's going on, because I'm not on the coast. I'm in Redding, and so I'm not experiencing that fog and that drizzle. Yes, I can take a look at my tools and see that there is a low visibility and all that good stuff, but from reports from you, I can see that there's fog, but it looks like even some drizzle coming in with some of those low clouds that are coming in this morning. So thank you, Rowdy, for sending in that report. Let me know what's going on in your neighborhood. Of course, as you know, it gets pretty hot even this hour, but the good news is we're still seeing some of those cooler temperatures to start off the day, and that certainly can make a difference. Well, let's get you to the forecast this morning, which is, of course, sponsored by, and you all know that Coffee with Kruger is made possible by Wind River Resort and Casino. Because at Wind River Resort and Casino, you can enjoy friendly service, a wide variety of specials and promotions, plus all of your favorite slots and table games. Now, when we look at the current temperatures out there, again, one of the things I want to point out is that we're still seeing those temperatures dropping down into the 60s for the valley. Now, that's significant to know, especially when we're talking about the heat advisory that we do have for at least the valley of Northern California. Because one of the contributing factors to the National Weather Service issuing these heat advisories and these warnings is looking at not only the daytime high, just how hot it's going to be during the day, but looking at what those overnight lows are going to be. Because it's a matter of recovery. It's a matter of the body recovering from these hot temperatures. So if it's hot during the day, which it will be today, but it doesn't really cool off a whole lot at night, then our body doesn't have a whole lot of time to recover. And on top of that, if you don't have proper cooling, say you don't have a home with good air conditioning, then it's even harder and more dangerous for you to recover from that. So just kind of something to keep in mind and think about here as we take a look at these current temperatures and see what's going on out there. So there you can see 67 degrees right now for Redding, 59 degrees out in Shingletown, 53 in Alturas, and about 53 degrees in Susanville. I don't like this suit. Seems like it just has a whole lot of opening there, but you can't. The style does not allow you to button the bottom one. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to retire this suit. I don't know. 67 degrees right now for Redding, 61 for Corning, 53 for Eureka. And there you can see 53 for Alturas. Man, I'm just disheveled all over the place. The collar not looking good. All right. Is that better? That's better. Okay. All right. You got to keep looking sharp, right? All right, let's take a look at the visibility out there. And I mentioned that we're seeing some lower visibility, at least along the coast, but we're not seeing at least really dense fog in most areas. But of course, as we heard in Fortuna there is some of that fog and drizzle. So some areas are experiencing some of that drizzle, especially around the Eureka area, Humboldt Bay, for example. But the warming trend outside of the coast now, it peaks today and tomorrow, right? And unfortunately, the fire danger will be increasing slightly as the temperatures rise. No, we're not seeing any major wind events, but it's still going to be low humidity and it's going to be hot. So as a result, we're probably going to see the fire danger increase as a result. Now, it's not as hot, but still hot going into next week, and you'll see that temperature trend here in a bit. But it looks like cooler temperatures. And, the thing is, it's that time of the year where we say cooler, but it's not going to be cool out there, right? But instead of 106, 107 that we're seeing today in Redding, it'll be probably about 10 degrees cooler. So, that can make a difference. It can make a big difference. Now, looking at the fire tracker, I mentioned this earlier, the yellows are indicating that these heat signatures are several days old. And we're not seeing any red on the map, which indicates no recent activity coming in from the sites fire. Excellent news. And when we look at the fire hotspots, any latest that's coming in, no hotspots. And what this tells us is that the fire has been fairly inactive over the last few days. And due to that lack of activity, we're just not going to see much smoke, which is great. I think some of us, and this may be overdoing it a bit, but I think some of us may see some haze, but I don't expect the air quality to decrease. Now, there's another fire in southern Oregon called the Upper Applegate Fire. It's only about 150 acres in size, but it is producing some smoke. So later on this afternoon, with that north wind, especially in the upper levels of the atmosphere, just barely above the surface, actually, what we call the 850 millibar heights, but those winds are going to maybe push some of that smoke down into Yreka. Now, Yreka, you may smell some smoke. You may see that air quality drop a bit, but then it just kind of turns into haze. It dissipates by the time it does make its way as far south as, say, Mount Shasta or even Redding, but that may lead to a little bit of haze for places like Mount Shasta and Redding later on this evening and tonight. Meanwhile, the winds aren't that strong right now, but they are picking up this afternoon. North winds along the coast, gusty winds for the Shasta Valley, and winds coming in from the west-northwest off to the east. Now, we take you into your Saturday. We're going to be looking at overall strong southerly winds. Now, a lot of times you may hear that these southerly winds have a bit of, we call it the Delta breeze, and it has a bit of that marine influence. And yes, it can, but see, the thing is, we can talk about a marine influence, but if we don't have much of a marine layer from that direct source, then it's not going to have a really huge impact. So bottom line is this: yes, a southerly flow of winds is certainly more favorable for us than a north wind. A north wind really dries things out and it can heat things up as well. A south wind can typically keep those temperatures a little bit cooler, especially down to the south, and you'll see that when we look at our forecast. But as far as the humidity, that's something we've got to watch, because the humidity is the key. All right, the winds can be coming from the south all day long, but if the humidity is not dropping, that doesn't matter. And there you can see, as you take you out to Sunday, still looking a bit of that south wind again, but north winds for the coast. Pretty gusty there too. So again, we're talking about humidity. You see how dry it is? Single digits for many of us in the valley, and really looking at very dry conditions northward into Siskiyou County, eastward into Modoc, Lassen, and Plumas counties as well. So with these drier conditions, we're going to start to see higher fire danger there as well. Now we take you into Saturday. Remember, I was mentioning just kind of that overall southerly flow of winds. That sounds great, but it's not doing much for our humidity levels. It's not helping. So we're still very dry on Saturday. Let's take you into Sunday. Again, still a bit of that southerly flow of winds. Once again, not doing much for humidity, not dropping it, not increasing it, that is, and the humidity staying fairly low as well to the north and east in the mountains. So what does all that mean for our fire weather risk? Well, today we're going to be in that high to very high. You look at that out just to the north and east of Corning, you're seeing some reds in there. So that's getting into the very high category. But for the most part, we're in the high category for most of the valley. We go into Saturday. Not only are we looking at it in the valley, but look at what we're beginning to see here. More colors making their way into places like Modoc County, the mountains of Shasta County, Lassen County, and even into parts of Siskiyou County, in particular Shasta Valley. But you see how we're beginning to see more oranges popping up on the screen. That's getting in the moderate to high range. So we've got to be on the lookout for the higher elevations as well. And, we think about, the fire that started yesterday in Siskiyou County. We're beginning to see more fuels out there, and that's just not a good situation. Now, it looks like the east side of the valley may see a bit higher fire danger than the west side, but the bottom line is we're still in those oranges, keeping the fire danger fairly high. Doesn't look like the fire danger will be as high on Sunday, but still, we're looking at some of that fire danger kind of staying up in that moderate range. All right, so here's the big picture. This low pressure system here is just going to ride to the north. It's going to help to drop our temperatures down later on this weekend and into early next week. So here's the bubble of heat that I've got my eyes on. Here's that pocket of cooler air that I was just pointing out. That cooler air just kind of rides to the north of us as we go into the weekend. Now you would think, okay, look, it's moving closer to us, our temperature should drop. Not necessarily the case. As we go into today, we go into tomorrow, this heat is going to expand, okay? And it's going to be a pretty strong ridge of high pressure over the desert Southwest. That's where most of the heat is going to be, but it is extending into Northern California. This right here is keeping that from pushing even more to the north. So that's the good part, right? That moves on out. You see how things just kind of level out? We see it kind of go back and forth a little bit here, but for the most part, temperatures will level out about 100 degrees, give or take, in the valley. Southern end of the valley, maybe closer to, say, upper 90s, but north end of the valley, say, around 100, 101, okay? And one thing to keep in mind, too, when you have an area of high pressure like this, you get that clockwise flow around that area of high pressure, gives you more of that southwesterly flow of winds. That can have an impact as far as we were talking about that marine influence, so maybe a little bit more of that delta breeze kind of kicking in as well. But a lot of times, too, but it doesn't look like that's the case right now. Sometimes when you have that monsoon moisture moving in, that monsoon moisture can move in. But we're not really looking at that monsoon moisture just yet making its way into the desert Southwest. This cooler air continues to ride to the east. Now look what's happening. This is beginning to show signs of retreating and moving back down to the south and east by the end of next week. This is why we're expected to see a drop in our temperatures here by Thursday, Friday. But bottom line, it's still going to be above normal. We're going to be just kind of within that above normal range and even near normal for extreme Northern California. So looking at that trend, it peaks today and tomorrow for the valley. But see how I was talking about leveling off? About 100 degrees, give or take, through Wednesday, for Sunday through Wednesday. But then that little notch downward. We're getting closer to normal by Thursday and Friday. Let's take you out to Mount Shasta, the mountains in general, right? There it is peaking today and tomorrow. There it is kind of leveling off around 90 degrees. And then their nice bigger dip here by the time we get into Thursday and Friday. Here's the coast. The question is, why am I showing this? Well, I just want to show that, if you live on the coast, maybe you want to know what your trend is looking like. And that's what it's looking like, a little bit warmer as we take you into your Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. But certainly a lot cooler than everybody else, right? All right, let's take a look at Futurecast. And the main focus will be the coast here too as well, because we're not going to see any rain. We're not going to see any thunderstorms either. There'll be some afternoon cumulus clouds in the mountains, but that's it. But, by noon, we're still seeing a lot of that fog persist along the coast. So still a lot of the gray skies. And then eventually by this afternoon and evening, it may begin to kind of clear out. Now look at tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, that fog comes back, especially if you're Humboldt Bay, southward, making its way along the Highway 101 corridor. But Crescent City doesn't look to be quite as bad. Then we go in the afternoon tomorrow, and a lot of that should clear out, but we've got another kind of batch of marine air that's kind of pushing on in, and then by Sunday morning, you do have that fog around Crescent City, down to Eureka, making its way even down into Garberville, possibly starting off with some of that fog as well. So it's going to be a pretty intense kind of push of that marine air. Then Sunday afternoon, it actually looks like it tries to burn off a little bit here. So it's we're kind of reaching that time of the year, especially in the morning and overnight hours. We see that fog kind of develop, and then because of the high angle of the sun, that beats down on that marine layer and tends to allow that marine layer to evaporate. That helps kind of in the evaporation process. Drier than normal conditions are in the long range here, but that's not hard to do, especially the fact that we just don't see a lot of rain this time of the year. The wave heights, they are increasing a little bit here for today, and as a result, there is a small current advisory actually through Saturday morning. But by Saturday afternoon, we are starting to see those wave heights begin to drop. So for your Friday today, northwest winds at 15 to 20 knots. Again, there's that small craft advisory for today. And as I mentioned, that will extend on into Saturday morning as well. So here is your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. And this is where we're looking at temperatures in the low 90s for Burnt Ranch. You start heading eastward into Weaverville, about 101 degrees there. 95 degrees in Coffee Creek and 97 for Trinity Center. Again, we're right around 100 degrees today. Tomorrow, temperatures start to drop and drop even more, especially by the middle and latter part of next week. The high of 98 degrees for Hayfork, 90 in High and Palm, 90 in Forest Glen, and 95 degrees for Ruth. Let's take you out to the North Coast neighborhood forecast. Southern Humboldt County, 80 degrees for Miranda. There you can see 88 for Redway, 89 degrees for Garberville. There's the Peak, mid 80s for basically Sunday through Wednesday. Upper 70s by next Thursday. There's that fog we're seeing this morning, and as we got from one of our weather watchers, I'll go ahead and call you a weather watcher if you kind of chime in here on social media, seeing some of that drizzle this morning as well. Otherwise, what we're going to be looking at here are temperatures kind of just staying in the low to mid 60s here in the Fortuna area. 66 degrees for Blue Lake. You're seeing some of that fog this morning, as well as McKinleyville with a high of about 61 degrees today. But look at the inland areas. There's the Peak today and tomorrow, and the temperatures dropping right around 90 for Monday, Tuesday, and then back down to the 80s by Wednesday and Thursday. Let's take you up north. Looks like Orleans about 96 degrees. Smith River 76. There's that fog along the coast. Should eventually burn off later on this afternoon. How about Siskiyou County along the Highway 96 corridor? We're in the mid to upper 90s. We're pushing that 100-degree mark out towards Horse Creek. 97 Happy Camp, and there you can see along the I-5 corridor, generally in the mid 90s. 94 degrees for a high today in Greenview. Etna at 93. This is, of course, your Scott Valley forecast. These temperatures eventually dropping down to the 80s by the middle and latter part of next week. And for central and eastern Siskiyou County, 93 degrees for Weed, 96 degrees for Dunsmuir, but out towards these higher elevations up to the north and east in the upper 80s. Also seeing that drop back down to the low 80s, low to mid 80s by next Thursday. Your Modoc County neighborhood forecast. Temperatures about 90 degrees, give or take. We keep it in the 90s at least through Tuesday. Upper 80s by Wednesday, dropping down to the low 80s by next Thursday. So really across the board, we are seeing those cooler temperatures for the higher elevations and the valley. 98 degrees for Montgomery Creek, 96 in Shingletown, but cooler in Viola with a high of about 89 degrees. Lake Almanor and Lassen Park. Well, of course, Lassen Park's a nice place to cool off. Last check, still not open with that road, with that highway through, or that road through the park. But that should hopefully change here soon. 91 degrees for Lake Almanor Peninsula, 92 degrees for Chester today. All right, here's your Eastern Mountains to the south. Paradise, you're going to be looking at temperatures in the mid-90s through Sunday, low 90s Monday through Wednesday, upper 80s by Thursday. For Susanville, you're back down to about 90 by next Thursday. And your Valley neighborhood forecast, this is where the heat is. 107 for Red Bluff, 104 for Los Molinos. But notice as you head southward, not as hot, right? We're sitting at about 97 degrees for Oroville, 97 for Durham, and Gridley about 96 degrees. And of course, those temperatures starting to drop as well. Here's your Valley neighborhood forecast of the north, brought to you by NorCal Tractor. About 106 degrees for the city of Shasta Lake, 107 in Redding, as well as Anderson and Cottonwood, 107 for Palisadro. Whiskeytown, a high of about 101 degrees. Let's take a look at your 7-day outlook for Redding. And again, keep in mind that these temperatures are going to be fairly warm overnight. And that's one of the reasons why we do have that heat advisory for the valley for your Saturday. 107 degrees today for Redding, 106 on Saturday. Temperatures leveling off around 100 degrees for Sunday through Wednesday. And then look at that. We are dropping that temperatures down to the mid-90s. So there you have your forecast. So there's relief in sight. There is going to be some relief from these temperatures. So we can certainly look forward to that. Let's check in with everybody and see how you're doing this morning here. It looks like, we've got Catherine Schmidt who's got a nice comment this morning. She's mentioning that, thank you for your coverage for Susanville in the Chester area. We have family over there that watch you. Well, I certainly appreciate that. That was one of my visions with Weather NorCal, is that one of the things that I noticed over my years of doing weather here on TV is that there really was a large focus on the valley. And, really honestly, that makes sense. That's where the highest population is, right? But a lot of these outlying communities they tend to get ignored by the local media, and not only for news coverage, but even for weather coverage. But see, the beauty of weather coverage is I can sit here in my office and I can look at all the weather conditions. I can look at I can forecast for anywhere across the world, right? But obviously I've got years and years of experience here, and so my expertise is going to be better than anyone else who could be forecasting anywhere across the nation or the world, right? But again, that's neither here nor there. But what I noticed is that there just wasn't that much of an attention. And that's why I started the neighborhood forecast. That's why you'll notice I've got 7-day forecasts for a lot of these smaller mountain communities. And so I'm glad that you all are noticing it. Thank you, Catherine, for kind of reminding me that you and others are appreciating the extra effort I put into it to bring you a wider variety of weather coverage for our area. We got Deborah Ann saying, let's see here, Rowdy Kelly is saying that the sunset picture, well, let's take a look at her picture. The sunset picture here. Let's take a look at that because it's gorgeous. I love it. And I love these pictures. And I love it when you all send these pictures in because these pictures, they're just so nice. So we have got Rowdy Kelly mentioning that the sunset picture was sent from, well, the picture was taken from the 19th. So yes, it was a few days ago. But like I said, you may send the image and it may take a day or 2 or 3, depending on how many people send pictures. And the more you send pictures, I want that to be a problem of mine, where I've got so many pictures that there's going to be a long queue for people to see their images. That's what I want it to turn into. And then eventually, if we can get enough of that traction of people sending in their images, maybe we can do something more with it. Maybe we can start including more incentive by offering prizes and all that good stuff. Maybe picture of the week, right? Maybe bring that back. So we'll see. We'll see what we can do with that. Nick Woods is saying good morning to you all. Let's see if we can kind of send that in here. And there is Nick Woods saying good morning, not only to me, but saying good morning to all of you out there that are watching this morning. So thank you, Nick, for chiming in and saying hello to everybody. All right. Oh, I didn't show you that image. There it is. That's the one. That's the one that Rowdy Kelly sent in. This was taken on June 19th. And this was a sunset picture out at Humboldt Bay. What a gorgeous shot. If you haven't had any opportunity to spend any time out there on the coast in Humboldt Bay, I highly recommend it. My wife and I, that's just a destination for us many, many times. We go out there as much as we can. Excuse me while I sip my coffee. But yeah, absolutely a gorgeous shot. So once again, I want to thank you, Rowdy, for sending in that image. Well, that is going to do it for us this morning, folks. I'm so glad that you could join us this morning on Coffee with Kruger. It's Friday. Stay cool out there. We, of course, know it's going to be really hot out there, especially in the valley. So be sure to stay hydrated. If you are drinking coffee this morning, make sure you take time to also gulp down some water as well, because coffee dehydrates you. So you need to make sure that when you head out the door this morning, that you supplement that coffee with some water to help rehydrate your body. Yes, you may need to make an extra trip to the bathroom, but better than dehydrating yourself to prevent that. So thank you all again for so much for watching. Daniel's Roofing has decided to chime in this morning. Why is it not showing up here? That's interesting. I was going to maybe show Daniel's Roofing on here, but Daniel's Roofing is saying beautiful sunset. I need a vacation. I couldn't agree with you more, right? Because I could use a vacation. I think all of us could use a vacation. But the good news is I'm super excited because since I started Weather NorCal, it's been really hard for me to take time off. It's just difficult. I can do little mini trips over the weekend, things like that. But this is going to be the first time this summer that I'm going to be taking my son out, and we are going to, for my family in general, my wife, my son, and some friends, we're going to make a trip to different parts of our area. And so we're excited that, I take a week off here, I take a week off there. And I do have my weekend meteorologist, Brian Wilson, who does weekend weather for me, but he can also fill in for me during the week if need be. And since the weather is not as active during the summer, I don't feel as bad taking off. So, yes, it's going to be my first vacation this summer. Last summer, it wasn't even a thought, right? Because I had just started Weather NorCal. But now, I might be able to take some time off. And on top of that, even if he can't fill in for me during the week, I've got a computer, I've got a remote ability to remote into the computer and do the weather forecast from wherever I am, as long as I have internet access. So it's perfect. And I'm really excited about that. So there you have it, folks. That is going to do it for this morning. Thank you all so much for chiming in this morning, for checking in this morning. Let's take a look at some of the cameras in the area, kind of wrap up the show here. We're going to cue up the music. It's going. We got that jazzy music going. We're going to take a look at some of those cameras as well. We're going to start off with Lake Oroville, North Forebay. Have yourselves a great Friday. Stay cool, stay hydrated, stay safe. Take care of your pets, take care of your family to make sure everyone's okay during this heat wave that we experience today and tomorrow. But there is relief in sight. Have a great weekend. If you're heading out to the fair, have fun. Because the fair, it's not going to be fair weather. It's going to be hot weather. All right, I tried to do some kind of stupid joke in there, but it didn't work. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday on Coffee with Kruger at 7 a.m.